How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Trip. Welcome back to another Wildin Wednesday on our podcast here. All in a day's work, officially signing on. But before we get started, make sure you guys click that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, make sure you click that notification bell. That way you get all the notifications of our videos coming up to you soon. And again, if you like what you hear, go ahead and leave a comment right on down below so we can have this discussion. So, without further ado, let's do this thing. So, every Wednesday, I usually come to you guys with some crazy off-the-wall nonsense or some random story or something that I've seen in the headlines or in the media, social media, whatever it is. I just share some off-the-wall nonsense and discuss it, right? But this Wednesday, I'm thinking, why not just continue the discussion that's already going on? Because what's going on right now in our country is wild enough as it is, and y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, this shit's crazy out here. Like, I don't know in what scenario they played out where everything that we're going through right now is gonna work in the end, because what I see right now is out in the streets and in the headlines and whatnot, it don't look like it's gonna be pretty. It looks like it's gonna be complete chaos, and I have a bad feeling that it's gonna get a lot worse before it gets better. And I mean, let's be honest, like, there's a lot of people talking about it, but not enough people seeing it or hearing what we're talking about. And when you do finally get a chance to talk about it, you get banned, you get shadow banned, you get stopped. And that right there is concerning, and that's why you typically see me wearing one of these shirts, like this one here. It says "Make speech free again." If you guys can hear that, make speech free again. Let's think about that right now. We're a nation built on the Constitution, with the Bill of Rights, the amendments, and all of these great things that were developed in order to make us the perfect union, or better yet, just the greatest nation in the entire world. And yet, somehow, we have individuals right now that think it's a good idea to just pretty much erase or rewrite whatever we know to be true and the foundations that we've been founded on, to start this new narrative and push this idea leading towards this socialized dictator like scenario. And seeing as how we know that this doesn't work, it bothers me to say that we heading in the same direction. And this right here, stopping somebody from saying something that we've had since birth, we were given that right, just being born here, it's awfully concerning. And there's a lot of people out there who are for the narrative that's being pushed, and they're so loud, and they're going to go out of their way to make you who possibly disagree with where the current flow is going out to be the bad guy. And that's not right. Just because you disagree with the current narrative doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you have, reservations or logic or common sense. But, that's just my opinion. But let's be real. Like, if you're willing to give up your rights, for this whatever narrative is being pushed, let's think about how you're not going to get that right back when you want it. Okay? When you censor people, essentially what you're doing is you're stopping them from being able to release the thoughts inside of their head to the public. You cripple them. You literally cripple them. And I get it. Nobody wants to be subject to hate speech and hate crimes and things to that nature. I totally get that, and nobody should have to go through that. And you have to understand that this idea that you can pick and choose what's okay to say and what's not okay to say you have to understand how that can be extremely dangerous. Let's think about the massive amount of platforms that are out there. You have social media, mainstream media, these private chat groups, so on and so forth. But each of those platforms, especially those big ones, they are controlled and ruled by, in a lot of instances, foreign interest, and money comes in to help fund this, and they have a particular narrative that they want to push, and anything that counters that, they want them to shut it down. And that's the most broken way I guess I could put this. There's obviously a simpler way to say that, but you know, for risk of being canceled, I have to be careful how I choose my words. You know, if I were, now this is an if again, if I were the bad guy and if I were the one who was going against the narrative, again, if I was, I might say something along the lines of like, Facebook is censoring anybody who is a right-wing or conservative-like person. If I were one of the bad people saying those things, that's something I could post, and risk of getting bad PR, they're going to cancel that post. If I were to say something along the lines of like, the vaccine is killing people, and or they could be doing experiments on you, I'm going to get banned from social media. If I were to say that. If for some reason I were to make a post that simply said people coming in from the southern border are coming in, possibly creating the Delta variant, I can get labeled as promoting hate speech towards a particular ethnic group, or blaming the particular group for contributing or creating this new variant. I could get risk, you know, of being canceled and shut down. If I were to say those things or post those things or talk about those things, the risk of being canceled is, it's a very scary thing. It's almost ridiculous. It's being punished for expressing a thought, and by expressing, I literally mean just by saying it. The fact that your whole entire career and everything can be canceled based on one thing that you say, or just if you don't agree with the current narrative, they will do anything in their power to ensure that that message does not get out. And that is important. That is important to know about, because why go through so much effort? Why go out of the way to shut down the thoughts of individuals who happen to disagree with how you're handling things or the way the message is being depicted? I gotta say, it sounds a lot like some of these other countries out there that are communist based. Like, if I were to say it's sounding exactly like a communist China, Russia, or North Korea, or something like that, I would be at risk of being canceled if I were to say that. I'm not saying that, but if I were to say that, then you have to realize the way we're handling things in this country is, it's looking a lot like they want complete and total control, and they're going to give you everything that you need, and all you have to do is continue to work, and everybody's equal, and all this. Which, yeah, in a dream scenario, you would like for everyone to be treated exactly equal and have the same opportunities and all that. But the reality is that's not where we are right now. And also that when people typically try to do those things, it doesn't end up well later on. This is where the collapse come into play in all of these countries that happen to try it this way, and it has not worked. So that's just something to think about before we continue to push and move into this point of no return. And I swear to God, I honestly think we are at the point of no return, and it's quite concerning. It's one of the most concerning things that I happen to think about at this point in time in my life. I have no idea where we're going. At any moment, I could just be subject to a completely new rule, a completely new thing that's out there that we have never done before, and people are literally giving up their rights and their freedoms, and in order for the government or whoever to just take complete control. Like it's almost like as if this new generation doesn't want to accept any kind of responsibility for them being an adult. Well, the government should just take care of it. The government should do this. The government should do that. Absolutely not. How about just wild thought here? How about you do something? You do better. You be the reason and you be the change. You fix the issue. Big brother government should not have to fix absolutely everything that's going on. Now, granted, the government caused a lot of the issues of what is going on, but what government hasn't? I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist or whatever, doomsday guy or prepper. I hate to sound like that because I don't want to freak people out and you know, scare them to the point where they're starting to prepare. But you know, I have to say, I just honestly feel like we're running down this course of where it's uncertain, and you might want to get ready. You might want to prepare yourself for it in case it happens, because with the way things are going right now, there's no telling where this ends. The COVID passports, let's talk about that for a second. Wow. In my entire life, I have never, ever in my life been asked if I have had a vaccination before I go into a store to buy some groceries, or better yet, I just go to have a beer after work. I go to a certain bar, they're asking if you're vaccinated, and if you're not welcome in here. What kind of shit is that? Wait a minute. Let's just think about this for a second. You're telling me, as a hardworking American person who pays his taxes, honest living, do my part in the community, and you're telling me that my business is not welcome here to buy a beer, all because I'm not vaccinated. So here's what I'm concerned about. If you're an establishment and you're only allowing vaccinated people in your establishment, and yet you have an unvaccinated person who wants to go to your establishment, you kick them out. Well, if you guys are all vaccinated on the inside, then that means that you should be safe if this unvaccinated person decides to come in, right? Am I missing something here? I'm pretty freaking sure that's how that's supposed to work, right? Like, you guys are all vaccinated and I am not. Even though I'm not sick, I have no symptoms, I'm perfectly fine. You guys are worried about getting the disease or the virus because I might have it. I swear to God, I'm not trying. Wait, we got to wake up, people. We have to wake up. We have to realize what is happening right in front of our faces. And it seems to me like no one's talking about it. And if you're trying to talk about it, you get snipped. You get snipped. What kind of shit is that? What kind of shit? Where do they get off at just allowing other businesses to say, hey, no, you can't come into this establishment? Or, well, you know what, guys, when you signed on for this job, this was never a requirement. And I know you've signed a contract. You've been a loyal worker. You've been a great employee for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And well, guess what? New rule, either you get vaccinated or you risk getting terminated. Like, What? Wait a minute. Does that not sound like some communist type shit right there? You either do exactly what we tell you to do or you lose your job. You either get this jab or you lose your job. Like, wait a minute now. Why am I being punished? All because I don't want to stick an unproven, rushed vaccine to fight against a virus where I have a 99.6% or percent chance of getting fighting it and being just fine. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about the health conscious people out here who take their vitamins, work out, eat a healthy diet, and how that is the best way for you to not get COVID or spread COVID. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about how you need to be out in the sunlight, how we need to be around people. We're not talking about those things. Instead, we're only talking about shutting things down, wear a mask, and get your vaccination. And if you don't, you're going to be punished. You're going to be punished. Wake up, everybody. Come on now. If you don't see what I see, I swear to God, you're not looking. You're not looking. I see this shit every day. It's all over the news. More and more businesses. Washington State, today, the governor announced that all state employees are required to get the vaccination. Like, what? Required? The government is literally just making up these. This is real shit. This is literally happening right in front of us. Real stuff. And I'm forced to be quiet. I'm not even allowed to talk about it? You're telling me I'm not even allowed to talk about it? If I talk about it, I'm at risk for promoting hate speech or misinformation? Are you kidding me? How about we're not talking about the only misinformation out there really is the stuff that our mainstream media is pushing out to everybody without any actual checks, without them verifying. I'm not talking about that. We're not talking about the fact that we have on document an undocumented amount of times where the media has gotten things wrong, or these companies have gotten things wrong. But yet, we are encouraged to say, yes, we are a nation of freedoms and liberties, and we have the Constitution to back us and these amendments, and we have this thing called free speech, but it's only free if you're pushing the narrative that we're trying to push. Think about that for a second. The narrative being pushed. If you want to talk about that and it being a good thing for whatever we're pushing, you're welcome to say whatever it is you want. But on the other hand, if you decide to say, well, I don't agree, well, now you're labeled a bad person. You're spreading misinformation. You're discredited. If that doesn't scare you, talk to the woman, the mother, the single mother, 3 kids, who's about to lose her job, because she doesn't want to get the vaccination. Explain it to her. Explain it to those kids that aren't allowed to go to school now because they didn't get the vaccine. Explain it to the person who might have other health related issues, and they're a state worker or a federal worker, and they are now forced to get this vaccine, and then they have serious episodes because of it. We're not talking about that. So now the people are being forced to get the vaccine, if they didn't plan to for whatever health-related issue there is, now they succumb to serious and in some instances deadly issues based on, or side effects based on this vaccine that they would have never had they just not taken the medicine or the vaccine. Forget if you have a religious exemption. Apparently none of that matters. But exemptions aside, my body, my choice, right? Right? That's what they've been saying. My body, my choice. So if I choose to run the risk of not getting this vaccine, that should be allowed just as well as it should be allowed for you to force the vaccine upon me. Now, I'm not trying to talk crazy, but exactly what's happening here right now is absolutely crazy. It's nuts. I can't believe that this is where we are. Meanwhile, we have homeless veterans and people in the streets, people who are being trafficked to this day, and children that are getting taken away and are getting raped, but we're not talking about that. The only thing that we can talk about is get your fucking vaccine. We're not going to talk about the people that are living in poverty here in our streets right now. They don't matter, apparently, if they don't have a vaccine. Where did we go wrong? Wake up, everybody. Wake up. Till next time, stay safe. Wish you guys the best. Don't forget to check out our website, allonadays.com. Get your merchandise and check out our fundraisers and things that we have on there and donations to help us in the community. On a day's work. Signing off. Stay safe, everybody.